Welcome to Better Said Than Written, the podcast that shares inspirational excerpts from books, essays, poems, and quotes that when read aloud just sounds better said than written. I'm your host, Tamika Cody. James Baldwin once wrote, "Know from whence you came. If you know whence you came, there are absolutely no limitations to where you can go." In my last episode, Not Grieving, Just Noticing, I told you about SD, my father, and how I wasn't grieving him. Now, if you missed that episode, here's a recap. The other day, I received a text message from my sister. She said, "Our SD is in the hospital." I blinked, and I studied the two individual letters. SD? Who is SD? So I asked, and she hit me with it. Sperm donor. I laughed, like really laughed, because I knew exactly who she meant. Let me give you the backstory. We share the same father, different mothers who just so happen to be sisters. Yes, you heard that right. My aunt had a baby with the same man as my mother. Family gatherings? Complicated. My childhood? Don't even get me started. So when my sister shared the news, she noted that she didn't think I'd care, but she felt that I should know anyway. About 2 weeks after that episode went live, I sat in front of my laptop and tuned in to my father's funeral streaming on YouTube. His burial was being held in the Commonwealth of Dominica. I watched every second of the service until the last flower was placed on top of his grave. Now, throughout the ceremony, I zoomed into the family members sitting in the front pews. I asked my sisters of 1975 who everyone was. "Those are our brothers and sisters," one replied in a text. But as I studied their faces, I didn't see myself, and I didn't see my children in them either. I texted back, "I don't look anything like them." One of my sisters brushed it off. "Well, you look like your mom. Some of us just take after our mother's features stronger than our father's." But something in me said, something isn't right. Before closing my laptop for the day, I ordered a DNA kit. 3.5 weeks later, the results came in. I desperately looked for my father's last name on the paternal side of the results. Then I looked for connections to Dominica. To my confusion, nothing showed up. Instead, a name was staring back at me that did not belong to the man who was buried a few weeks prior. It was a last name I recognized from my childhood. Now, for the sake of family privacy, I will refer to the family surname as Banana. My mother used to mention his name during her drunken nights. Depending on what she was drinking, she would alternate between two men, the one from Dominica and Mr. Banana. So when I saw the name Banana, I froze and I thought to myself, oh shit, what did I do? Now, before I move forward with this part of the story, I need to take you back to 1990 and 1991. When I was 15 years old, my mother decided to up and leave. That was around October 1990. I was left alone in my childhood home. And about 3 months later, I came home from school to find a note taped to the front door. Foreclosure. Now, during those years, there was no internet or cell phones for me to immediately search the meaning of the 11-letter word. But as I read through the document, a few words I completely understood. Vacate the premises by March 3rd, 1991. My teenage mind filled with anxiety and worry. Where am I going to live? My mother left her phone book behind. It included names, numbers, and addresses of family, friends, and acquaintances. As I flipped through the pages, I found names written in cursive that were familiar to me. Mr. Banana was one of them. I called and explained the predicament I was in. "I'm coming," he said. And those were the last words I ever heard him speak. He never showed up. Later, a family friend who took me in by my deadline date asked if I had reached out to Mr. Banana. When I told her he said he was coming to get me but didn't show up, she decided to go to his place of business to track him down. As it turns out, his business was out of business, and Mr. Banana was nowhere to be found. Now, by the time Google came around, I continued to search for Mr. Banana, but I couldn't find him anywhere. Now, fast forward to August 2025, when I received the results from Ancestry DNA. Mr. Banana's name appeared in the cloud of names on the paternal side. Turns out I was one letter off. All those years I was spelling his name wrong. Now, I blame that misstep on me. I was misinterpreting my mother's cursive handwriting. That one mistake had kept me from finding the truth. Now, I only had the last name from Ancestry DNA. My investigation needed to find the first name. And not just that. I needed to find out where he lived when I was born and where his place of business was when he disappeared. I sent messages to 3 people with the last name Banana on Ancestry. Within 2 hours, I got a reply. Turns out she was my cousin, living in Canada. And her story? She had just found her own biological father last year, also from the Banana family. We connected on WhatsApp and swapped stories like 2 women walking the same road, just 1 year apart. She promised to share my information with her brother, who has the last name Banana. A few hours later, after we hung up, my phone buzzed. It was a photo of Mr. Banana. The picture was a younger version of the man I remembered from my childhood. "Is his first name Green?" I asked. Again, I'm not disclosing real names because there are family members who have yet to learn about me, and I want to protect their unhealed wounds, if any, still linger. So my cousin confirmed that the man's picture looking back at me was indeed Mr. Green Banana. I started to ask more pointed questions, but she reassured me 2 of my cousins were going to call me the following day. Those 2 cousins knew Mr. Green Banana well because he was their uncle. I spent the next 2 days on the phone with family who welcomed me with open arms, consistently repeating, "You are one of us. You're a banana." Do I have siblings? Yes, 5 to be exact, but I'm not ready to speak to them yet. You see, the third task on the list is to find out what my living aunts and uncles, my father's siblings, know about my mother, my father, and how they were perceived as a couple or not. And most importantly, why neither one of them wanted to raise me. Now, I'm well aware I may never get those answers, but my 15-year-old self can only hope. I'm doing all of this for little Tamika. So here I am, standing at the start of a new story, connected not just to a name, but to an entire family I've never known. Aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, a nurturing family tree with strong branches of my history is now real. But what do I do with this? How do you walk into a family that didn't know you even existed? How do you honor their privacy, their story, while finally telling your own? Know that this is just the beginning. And it reminds me of Baldwin's words once again. Know from whence you came. If you know whence you came, there are absolutely no limitations to where you can go. Maybe that's the truth I'm stepping into now. That knowing isn't just about looking back. It's about creating the freedom to move forward. If you ever had a story like this unravel in your life, I'd love to hear from you. You'll find directions on how to reach out in the show notes. Until next time, keep listening, keep feeling, and keep saying what needs to be said.